Episode 2, Big Bun's Marriage Proposal. Aren't you into men? Mr. Land, this. The bar owner appeared utterly bewildered, unable to grasp the situation. Lan Tingxiao's gaze swept across the visibly nervous female manager and the collapsed ladder, and he also noted the skylight above that could only accommodate a child. He had a general idea of what had transpired. He raised his hand to dismiss everyone and then walked over to personally pick up the unconscious woman. The faint fragrance of that ethereal cold scent became even clearer in his embrace. Seeing that Lan Tingxiao had gone to pick her up, Little Treasure did not stop him but wore a somewhat unwilling expression on his small face, as if to say, if I were bigger, I would have done it myself. B City's First People's Hospital. When Ningxi woke up, it was already the following morning. She opened her eyes and saw a man sitting in a chair by the window. His long legs were casually crossed, and his well-tailored suit outlined broad shoulders and a slender waist. The buttons on his white shirt were meticulously fastened, and even in the morning sunlight, he seemed to be shrouded in an eternal chill, with an expression as cold and aloof as a king in a medieval castle. The man seemed to notice her gaze and suddenly lifted his deep, sea-like eyes, and his icy, piercing gaze locked onto her. The gaze was too invasive, like a sharp surgical knife dissecting her inch by inch, sending shivers down her spine. Ningxi shivered but, despite her discomfort with the stranger's gaze, she anxiously asked, "Sir, could you please tell me how I got here? Have you seen a little boy around 4 or 5 years old? He doesn't talk much, and he looks soft and adorable." Soft and adorable. The man raised an eyebrow slightly at Ningxi's description, and then his gaze shifted to her right. His voice, as cold as his demeanor, inquired, "You mean Little Treasure?" Ningxi hurriedly followed the man's gaze, only to see a soft and white little dumpling sleeping soundly on the small bed next to her. He had an 4-line in his hand. Yes, him. Is he called Little Treasure? Ningxi finally breathed a sigh of relief and leaned over to touch the little boy's forehead, which had already cooled down. She had somewhat regretted sending the child out after rescuing him. After all, he was so young, and he had a fever. What if something had happened when he went out on his own? Ningxi looked back at the man with the intimidating presence and asked, "Are you, the child's?" As soon as she asked, Ningxi realized that her question was unnecessary. The resemblance between the child and the man was uncanny, as if they were carved from the same mold. They were undoubtedly father and son, blood relatives. Indeed, the ice-cold man replied, "Father." "Hey, beauty, you're awake. I'm Little Treasure's second uncle." Suddenly, a large face leaned in from the side, and Ningxi instinctively moved back. After seeing the man's face, she froze. Lan Jingli? Lan Jingli, the second son of the Land Group, and the owner of Xingshi Entertainment. Due to his outstanding looks and playboy personality, he appeared frequently in entertainment magazines and newspapers. She absolutely couldn't have mistaken this face. The ice-cold man was Little Treasure's father, and Lan Jingli was Little Treasure's second uncle. Doesn't that mean the ice-cold man was Lan Jingli's brother, Lan Tingxiao? Lan Tingxiao, known as the god of wealth in Beijing, the king without a crown in the imperial city. She had never expected that the person she had saved was the legendary illegitimate child of Lan Tingxiao, the shining little prince. Lan Tingxiao scrutinized the woman in the hospital bed, as if judging whether her surprised expression was genuine or not. After a moment, he seemed to finally believe that she hadn't known Little Treasure's identity in advance and spoke in a cold, clear voice, "Your request." What request? Ningxi didn't understand the meaning of these 4 words that appeared out of nowhere. "My brother's intention is to thank you for saving Little Treasure and for you to make a request," Lan Jingli explained, wearing an expression as if she had just struck a lottery. Ningxi's mind raced as she carefully responded, "Actually, you don't need to thank me. I saved Little Treasure, but he also saved me. If it weren't for him going out to get help first, I'd probably still be locked inside. So, it's even now." Although she had incredibly saved the little prince this time, she didn't dare to take credit. The richer people are, the more they tend to suffer from delusions of being targeted or manipulated, especially in the case of a super wealthy family like the Land family. She had noticed that Lan Tingxiao had been watching her with a guarded expression the whole time. To avoid any potential problems, it was better to keep a clear distance from them. Ningxi believed her answer was flawless, but Lan Tingxiao's face showed displeasure, leaving her apprehensive. Did she say something wrong? What did that terrifying expression on his face mean? "Brother, your expression is scaring her." Some people might think you're offering repayment, while others might think you're seeking revenge. Lan Jingli couldn't bear to see the beautiful woman distressed and spoke up to clarify. Then he said to Ningxi, "My brother doesn't like owing anyone, so you should make a request. Don't be polite. Forcing someone to make a request?" Ningxi's lips twitched. "It's not about being polite, it's genuinely unnecessary. I'm only telling the truth. If you don't believe me, you can investigate." "No need," Lan Tingxiao stated succinctly, looking increasingly impatient. Lan Jingli chimed in, "The bar's warehouse has security cameras. I've checked them," and Little Treasure went in by himself. "As for you, the bar manager admitted that she locked you in, so you don't need to worry. We don't suspect you. You did save Little Treasure. Please make a request." Ningxi sighed. She had come full circle. In the end, she had no choice but to make a request under Lan Tingxiao's increasingly pressing gaze. "Well, if you insist, then, can you give me money? Rich people liked straightforward methods of repayment, right? Given Lan Tingxiao's personality, he should also prefer using money to solve problems, right? If she didn't ask for money, they might think she had ulterior motives. Didn't they just see Lan Tingxiao giving her a guarded look earlier? Feeling that this was the most suitable request, Ningxi was confident in her choice. However, Lan Tingxiao's expression turned even more unpleasant. Ningxi was nearly on the verge of tears. Why did he have to be so concise? Wouldn't it be easier if he just spoke a few more words? Could a few sentences exhaust him? Lan Jingli, on his translation device, awkwardly scratched his nose. "My brother finds giving money too insulting." Ningxi wanted to shout, "It's okay, go ahead and insult me." Lan's family had a very unique status, and she didn't know what request would be appropriate. When the situation seemed to have reached a stalemate, Lan Tingxiao finally spoke, "Marry me." Ningxi was dumbfounded for a second and then started coughing violently, almost choking on her own saliva. Cough, cough, cough. "What did you say?" She quickly stopped her coughing and looked at Lan Jingli, urgently seeking help. But this time, both Ningxi and Lan Jingli were stumped. Lan Tingxiao, feeling satisfied with his decision, nodded and said, "You could say that." Ningxi looked at the man in front of her, who had a stone-cold expression but had just made a shocking proposition, and weakly touched her forehead. "Doctor? Where's the doctor? I think I may have really damaged my brain. I'm having hallucinations." Beside her, Lan Jingli appeared innocent. "Did I also damage my brain?" At this moment, even with her strong mental resilience built from enduring countless hardships, Ningxi couldn't accept the reality before her. She had saved a little boy, and now the boy's father was suggesting they get married? If it were anyone else, maybe, especially if the person was good-looking, it could be seen as a chance encounter. But this was Lan Tingxiao, Lan Tingxiao. In terms of appearance, she was good-looking, but Lan Tingxiao was a whole different level of gorgeousness. He had seen all kinds of world-class beauties. If he only wanted to look at her face or have some fun with her, she could understand. However, he said, "Marry me," which was terrifying. Most importantly, "Aren't you into men?" Ningxi blurted out. "Ha ha ha." Lan Jingli burst into laughter. Lan Tingxiao's face turned as dark as thunderclouds, casting a shadow over the entire room. After a good while, Lan Jingli finally stopped laughing and said, "If my brother liked men, then how did Little Treasure come about?" "Well, surrogacy or artificial insemination," Ningxi answered. "If my brother liked men, why would he want to marry you? To conceal his true sexual orientation? Ha ha ha. Brother, I can't help you with this. I've also heard that the two of you are a couple." Ningxi's eyes moved subtly between the two brothers. Cough, cough, cough. Lan Jingli choked, "Oh my, this is getting too bizarre. Although I'm as beautiful as both men and women." At this point, someone rose from his chair, his gaze deep and intense as he approached Ningxi step by step. "Jingli, take Little Treasure out." "Huh? Brother, what are you planning to do?" Lan Jingli asked. Lan Tingxiao meticulously adjusted his cuffs. "I'm going to prove to Miss Ning my sexual orientation." Seeing the terrifying expression on his face, as if he intended to dissect her on the spot, Ningxi was frightened. She tumbled off the bed and cowered behind Little Treasure, almost sliding under the bed. "Mr. Land, it's not my business. People outside are spreading rumors. There's always a cause and effect for misunderstandings. Also, you really don't need to thank me. If you insist on making me ask for something, then my request is for you not to make me ask for anything again. Sorry, I have a very important audition to attend later. I must leave now. Perhaps we'll meet again someday. Ningxi spoke rapidly and then dashed off. But just as she had taken a few steps, she heard Lan Tingxiao's cold voice behind her, "Am I letting you go?" Ningxi's legs trembled with fear. "I'm done for." A few seconds later, in response to Ningxi's doomsday look, Lan Tingxiao handed her a piece of paper and a pen. "Miss Ning, please leave a note for little treasure so that he won't be worried when he wakes up." Like this? It felt like she had survived a disaster. "Sure, no problem. I can write a 1,000-word letter if you want." Ningxi breathed a sigh of relief and quickly picked up the pen to write. After finishing the note, fearing some unexpected changes, she rushed off. Watching the girl's departing figure, the man's gaze was deep and profound, as if he was observing a prey that had already been trapped. After Ningxi left, Lan Jingli immediately hopped over to his big brother's side. "Brother, am I dreaming? Did you really look at Ningxi? It's been so many years, even a stubborn person like you can change, right? I've started to doubt if you're actually straight." As soon as the word straight came out, it was promptly shut down by his elder brother. "Shut up." "Alright." Lan Jingli swallowed his words. He was bursting with curiosity, and being unable to ask questions was almost driving him crazy. Due to heavy traffic during peak hours, when Ningxi finally arrived, she was already quite late. Changli and Ning Xuelua emerged from the audition building with radiant smiles on their faces, surrounded by a congratulatory crowd. Seeing Ningxi, who was drenched in sweat, rushing over, Ning Xuelua's gaze remained as cold as it had been 5 years ago. It was a condescending look, as if she was looking down on an ant. Ningxi didn't leave but quickly made her way into the building. It wasn't too late yet. While she was halfway there, a group of people came walking towards her, chattering and laughing. It was the panel of judges for the drama, Under the Heavens. "Sorry, I'm late." Ningxi bent deeply. Seeing Ningxi suddenly blocking their way, the judges exchanged glances, and their expressions soured. No one liked lateness. The assistant director scowled. "The auditions have already finished. What's the use of arriving late now? Young people these days are becoming more and more unreliable." "I'm not here for the leading lady audition," Ningxi said. "Oh? You're not here for the leading lady audition? Then what are you auditioning for?" the screenwriter asked with interest. "I'm here to audition for the second female lead, Meng Chang'e. From what I know, you haven't found a suitable candidate for the second female lead." As she finished speaking, Ningxi raised her head. The moment Ningxi raised her head, there was silence on the scene for at least 5 seconds. Even the assistant director, who had spoken harshly earlier, had his eyes fixed on her. The girl had rosy lips, white teeth, long black hair that reached her waist, and a bright red one-shoulder dress. Even such an intense color couldn't overshadow her beauty, it was just an accompaniment. She stood there quietly, like a wild fox in a foggy forest, as if she had been practicing for 1,000 years. Her captivating eyes made people inadvertently fall into that boundless spring scenery. Despite her profound spiritual cultivation, she seemed to have never set foot in the mundane world, with eyes as pure and clear as a tranquil pond. "What's your name?" Director Guo Qixing finally spoke after a few exchanges among the judges. "Ningxi." Director Guo and the others exchanged glances, and then he said, "I remember a bit. You're with Starlight, right? Go home and prepare. You've got the role of the second female lead. We'll notify you about the shooting schedule later." "Thank you, Director. I'll prepare well." Ningxi bowed and thanked him. Ningxi's initial goal was to secure the role of the second female lead. She had spent 3 months preparing for this role, trying to understand Meng Chang'e's feelings and temperament, with the aim of captivating the judges at first glance. Despite various setbacks, she had succeeded. After Ningxi left, Director Guo sighed repeatedly. "This is really like finding something effortlessly after treading through iron shoes. This girl has a contract with Starlight, but her experience is quite lacking. I didn't think much of her when she auditioned for the leading lady, but her photos don't do her justice at all." Screenwriter Yi Linglong couldn't contain her excitement. The most important thing is her temperament. The look in her eyes just now was perfect. Meng Chang'e was a righteous female general before becoming the nation's disaster. She can be seductive, but she must never be vulgar, and she should maintain a sense of purity and detachment from the mundane world. The actresses who auditioned for the role before her all turned it into a brothel scene. It nearly drove me crazy. Haha, don't be angry, don't be angry. You've finally found your Chang'e. Meanwhile, at the First People's Hospital in City B, there was commotion in the VIP ward where the little one was staying. The young child sat on the windowsill barefoot, in an extremely agitated state, and no matter what the doctors and nurses said, he refused to come down. Below, Uncle Lu Jingli tried his best to comfort him, but the little one simply didn't acknowledge him as his uncle. With no other options, Lu Jingli had to make a phone call to quickly summon Lu Tingxiao, who had just been called away by the company. "Brother, you've come just in time. Our little treasure went into a frenzy all of a sudden." Lu Jingli exclaimed. "What happened?" Lu Tingxiao asked in a deep voice. "I have no idea what's going on. After he woke up, he started looking for someone everywhere. I thought he might be looking for Ningxi, so I told him that the pretty lady had left. As soon as I said that, he went crazy. He seems to really like Ningxi, but it's not like he should get this excited just because she left," Lu Jingli explained. Moreover, it had been a long time since the little one had experienced such intense emotional fluctuations. After hearing the account of what happened, Lu Tingxiao walked directly towards his son. The little boy noticed Lu Tingxiao approaching and immediately became vigilant, retreating and showing signs of distrust, not even recognizing his own father. Only when facing his son did Lu Tingxiao exhibit such patience, speaking a long sentence. Lu Jingli was left speechless. "Are you kidding me? I only said 2 words, left, and he interpreted it like this?" Actually, the little one had been quite frightened after seeing Ningxi fall, so in his unstable emotional state, it wasn't surprising that he misunderstood his words. After listening to Lu Tingxiao's explanation, the little boy remained huddled on the windowsill. So Lu Tingxiao took out a note. "This is from her. Will you look at it?" The little boy's body tensed up for a moment, and then, as if a switch had been flipped, he immediately raised his head, extended his little short arms, and signaled that he wanted to be picked up by his father. Lu Jingli exclaimed, "I can't believe it. Did I hallucinate just now?" Little treasure actually smiled. "I can't even remember the last time I saw him smile. What did Ningxi write?" Lu Jingli wanted to sneak a peek, but the little one promptly hid the note away. However, Lu Jingli, with his quick eyes, had already seen it. It was a quite ordinary message. How could it make little treasure so happy? This Ningxi was indeed extraordinary. Lu Tingxiao didn't say anything and looked at his son with gentle eyes. Once little treasure woke up, Lu Tingxiao had immediately taken him back home and postponed all his work at the company to stay with him. In the evening, at Platinum Palace, Apartment 8. The spacious living room was empty, with only 2 people sitting on opposite sides of the dining table, both with cold expressions. "Lu Tingxiao, let's eat." Little treasure completely ignored him. "Lu Tingxiao, I'll say it one last time." Little treasure remained as still as a statue, fully immersed in his own world, completely unresponsive to the outside world. Father and son continued to face off. An hour later, Lu Tingxiao called Lu Jingli, "Send me Ningxi's address." Well, it turned out that the threat of a hunger strike was quite effective. Lu Jingli acted swiftly and immediately sent Lu Tingxiao the specific address of Ningxi, along with a bunch of gossip. Of course, Lu Tingxiao completely ignored the latter. This time, without Lu Tingxiao saying anything, little treasure immediately followed him when he saw his father pick up his coat and car keys. Lu Tingxiao glanced down at his son who was at his feet, and with a hint of helplessness, he bent down to pick him up, saying, "This is an exception."